Hello everyone and welcome back to another high-level match of StarCraft 2. What I've got for you today is a best-of-3 series where in game number 1 we find ourselves on Grasven. The spawning right here in the top left-hand corner, playing with the blue Terran SCVs from France, we have Clem and his opponent playing here with the red Zerg drones from South Korea. We're looking at Dark's main hatchery. I've been casting quite a lot of Dark games recently, but honestly, the man is just so dang entertaining. One of the very few Zergs who quite literally uses every single tool at his disposal. Even most of the top-level Zergs, they have a... they tend to, for example, lean towards, I don't know, Hydraling Bane, or they tend to lean towards, for example, playing the Nidus network rather than the Overlord drops in the late game. But Dark, he literally does it all. Now, this particular series, it was played during IEM Katowice. I heard that it's a lot of fun, so we're gonna find out exactly what ended up going down. I saw someone actually ask in yesterday's video, because I mentioned then as well that I did not see every single game that was played at IEM Katowice while the matches were going on. They were asking, Lowko, how can you not? Like, aren't you one of the commentators? Aren't you literally, like, paid to be there? The thing is, especially during the first couple days of the tournament, oftentimes there were quite literally 4 games being played simultaneously. And it turns out, when you're casting games, you can't actually watch the others. Well, you could, technically, but kind of difficult to pull that off all at the same time. Plus, I find that even when I do watch the games, right, oftentimes, since there are so many games being played at once, and usually we're there for like 12 hours at a time, usually the games kind of just blur into one and there's really not a whole lot to say anymore after, a couple of days when you've watched like 100 games of StarCraft 2 in a row. Anyways, this particular match I have not seen, but from what I heard, maybe this is a small spoiler, because normally I guess we'd find out in like 3 minutes. But from what I've heard, in this particular series, Clem decides to try out that battle mech style that has been very popular over the last couple of months. Now, he's opting to go for a 1-1-1 opener right here after triple CC. So a very nice economical start. And he's going to need it because so far these units, they've been darting back and forth between the Queens and the Creep Tumors and a couple of Zerglings, but they have not really achieved a whole lot. In the meantime, though, Dark decided to go for a very quick Roach Warren because that is what Dark does, as he now is going to rush out a couple of those bad boys straight towards what I think is going to be the other side of the map. He decided to skip the Zergling speed upgrade, so at this point, Clem doesn't really recognize exactly what he's playing against just yet, and Dark is using that to his advantage as well by now sending these roaches the long way around. Maybe, though, Clem can get lucky because he opened up 3 CC, but he also did decide to go for a Banshee play on the back of this. Okay. These roaches are going to take forever, though. I mean, there's a couple of defensive roaches over here. There were definitely more mates than just G's. That's a funny start. This is such a Dark-esque move already. So, the fact that Dark decides to go, there's a little bit of a drone snipe over there, but eventually, apparently, there's revenge. The fact that Dark decided to skip Link speed, then goes for a quick Roach Warren, then commits to 7 roaches, but only sends 4, the longest possible way around the map. This attack was supposed to hit at least a minute ago, but I think he's just given up on it. He's seen the Banshee at this point, he's seen the units that his opponent has, and he's like, you know what? May as well commit, but I can also use them defensively and maybe try and get a little bit more value out of them later. Now, okay, I thought this was going to be straight up battle mech. Ooh, he's thinking about running by. Okay, there's a bunch of Zerglings over here in the natural waiting, and then also the Queens. Not gonna happen. Anyways, now the roaches commit. In the meantime, though, on the production tab, we have the Hyper Flight Eroders upgrade coming up, which is a upgrade that got buffed with the most recent StarCraft 2 balance patch. Historically speaking, we've barely ever seen it. I am, however, a huge fan because it's so much fun to see those speedy Banshees flying around. And, well, I think right now there's probably a good indicator as well right there for Dark, because he's now seen 3 of those Banshees. And with a conventional Banshee opener, you go for 1, maybe 2, but 3 is a little bit strange. Infestation Pit goes down right away right here for Dark as soon as he saw that 3rd Banshee. Not entirely sure exactly what the plan is. So, obviously, Banshees, they fly, right? So you need units that shoot up. One option, I guess, that you have is you go for Infestors. Fungal Growth is amazing against Battle Mech. It's just a little bit risky as well because, well, you need to actually hit the Fungal Growth, right? And if you don't, suddenly these units, they can poke in and out, they can go back and forth, and suddenly you find yourself in a really awkward position. Creep Spread has been pushed back a little bit, but probably not as much as Clem would have liked. Okay, he gets pushed back again. So that's Infestation Pit, by the way, before... Yeah, okay, it is going to be Pathogen Lens. It's going to be the Infestor Energy upgrade. That is the Infestor Energy upgrade before Roach Speed even finishes. So that is very quick. Okay. Nice little bit of damage being done right now by these Banshees over here. But again, nothing critical. Up to this point, yeah. 7 drones were killed, but in the meantime, 10 SCVs also went down to that small little Roach hit squad. Okay, the Queens are going to be okay for now. The Queens are going to be alright, especially when it comes to defending, but obviously if you don't have... Now this is really good, by the way. Target firing down the Cyclones. That Cyclone caught in the middle. Woo, Hellions just barely clearing a path. The problem is, if you don't have something that shoots up, how in the world are you ever going to attack properly right here as Dark? Well, apparently Tunneling Claws and Burrow is going to be his choice right now, which is pretty interesting. Now there's a Hydra Den coming up. Okay. Careful now. So Clem historically has always been a bio-Terran, so someone who likes to play that marine tank, that marine Widow Mine-based army. Battle mech, while much faster than conventional mech, it does behave a little bit differently. And so far Clem definitely seems rather comfortable with it, but he doesn't have that domination that we see coming out of him all the time when he's playing that bio style instead, where he's just everywhere all at once, right? So he's very good when it comes to that multitasking. Well, so far, though, APM-wise, at the very least, Dark seems to be just fine. And Dark actually keeps on trading very nicely. Most Zerg players back off whenever those units come in, but so far, not Dark. Okay, now Infestors are coming up. Keep in mind, those Infestors now spawn with enough energy for a fungal growth, since he did get the Pathogen Lens upgrade. 5 Banshees now up in the air, though. Can I count? It's 6 Banshees. How many Banshees are over here? There's 5. Okay, I was gonna say. Anyways, he gets the kill right there on the hatch. That's really nicely done. Okay, fungal growths are available. There's more Banshee, or sorry, more Infestors right now coming in from the north as well. Suddenly, he springs the trap, and that's exactly what he was aiming for. Queens right now coming from the back. Another fungal growth over there to slow down the reinforcing units. Lovely move right there from Dark, but honestly, very nice crisis management right there coming out of Clem as well, as he actually manages to snipe all of those Infestors. So despite the fact that the majority of the Banshees have gone down, it wasn't free. Normally, those Infestors are super scary because they can continuously cast fungal growths, but yeah, 4 Banshees for 4 Infestors, I actually don't think that's a terrible trade right here for Clem at all. In the meantime, we've got ourselves the Hive coming up. Hive before 2-2, which is, again, kind of interesting. Curious to see exactly what Dark decides to do right now moving forward. We don't have any of the armory upgrades right here for Clem whatsoever yet, which is honestly a little bit surprising. The only reason I can imagine why you would want to skip those armory upgrades is if you imagine you win the game by now. And since that's not the case, I wonder when he's ever going to start them up. Normally when playing Mass Cyclone, we see Terran players getting just the armor upgrade, because a lot of the damage right here from the Cyclone comes from that lock-on ability, and that one doesn't benefit from the upgrades. But Clem has decided to skip all armories here altogether, which is not ideal. Ooh, is he gonna pop out? Yeah, he is gonna pop out. Okay, there we go. Thought maybe he was gonna go in for the counterattack, but since there's no Raven up in the sky, this army was undetected. Still though, this is a high DPS army. There's another fungal growth slowing down the retreat right there on that Banshee, and now Hydras are joining in as well, and I think that's honestly the end of the reign of the Banshees. I don't think they are really going to be able to come out, and, well, okay, I was going to say, we're going to transition right now towards Liberators, but that one also got cancelled. Clem, where are the upgrades? We don't have any upgrades. So +2 is coming up right now. Ooh. Wait, what? We had +1 melee done right here from the... I think he probably wanted to start off Adrenal Glands, and then he realized, wait a second, I actually don't have Metabolic Boost yet. So, that is, yeah, Link Speed after +1, which is kind of ironic. Anyways, Infestors and Vipers are going to be coming up right here for Dark, who is transitioning slowly into Roach Hydra Ling with Spellcaster support. Okay, very cool. Yeah, Dark, one of the very few guys, for example, that uses that Tunneling Claws upgrade, right? Like, I mean, we barely ever see Tunneling Claws being used by anybody. Now, I've been casting a lot of Dark games, so maybe you're thinking, hey, I've seen it quite a bit lately. Nobody really uses it, except for Dark. Okay, so, Baneling Nest, right now, together with the Lurker Den. all of this, it puts a smile on my face. It's very difficult to properly play. Now, I can't believe, by the way, he made all of these extra Evo chambers and then still uses the one that's actually researching. These are decoy Evo chambers, okay? If Terran gets over here, which is the one that holds the upgrades? Nobody knows. Could it be the one that's wiggling? Probably. Anyways, here's a big attack right now coming across the map for Dark. He decides to push into this position. Now we've had a transition towards that mechanical army here in the form of siege tanks. So you can see Clem has really slowed down quite a bit as he decides to now finally go into upgrades. My god. Okay. So 12.5 minutes into the game. I think Clem's original intention was to win the game by now. That's the only reason why I imagine he's skipping those upgrades for such a long time in favor of more units, right? Because when you think about it, those upgrades, they cost, give or take, one of those cyclones. So I think he opted to spend his money on those instead, but didn't really work out the way he had it intended. So this is really cool, by the way, from Clem as well. Over the last year or so, the most common unit comp we've seen coming out of Terran, especially in macro games, is that Marine Marauder Medevac army first, with siege tanks and maybe a couple of Widow Mines for support. Then they transition towards Ghosts, and then eventually we get to the ultimate Terran army, and that's Ghost Mech, right? Where you have siege tanks, Thors, Hellbats, but also Ghosts to support all of it. Super cool unit comp, very, very powerful, very difficult for Zerg to stop. Clem is trying to head on over in that direction. Look at the upgrades right now. He's getting everything. 4 upgrades at once. That's actually insane. There's no way he actually is going to be able to push that well with this. Is he? These upgrades are just not up to par, man. The Zergs are going to tear you apart. He wants to get EMPs, I guess. With EMPs, with these spellcasters out of the equation, maybe he can get some damage done. Anyhow, ooh, big road roll by over here in the bottom left-hand corner. Don't think that's going to cut it, though. And this is actually really good right now for Clem. Yeah, Dark not paying attention there for quite a while, as he now ends up losing a big chunk of those units. No, he doesn't even get one Cyclone, so that was maybe another Cyclone already fallen, but that was a very good trade right there for the Terran player from France. Okay, so what I was getting at, though, is that this is Battle Mech into Ghosts into Vanilla Mech. So it's a similar approach, but rather than playing an infantry-based army, we went straight into mech, which the main upgrades, you know, the main advantage, I guess, would be the upgrades. Now, sadly here for Clem, a couple of siege tanks do get caught off guard. Don't get those ghosts fungled. Ooh, those infestors, man, they're hunting for it. Not ideal right there for the Terran player once again, who's now trying to set up shop over here, but Dark shuts that down. Now suddenly, Dark is playing that Hydroling Bane unit composition. So from Roach Ravager with Infestors for support, we have Hydroling Bane with Infestors as well as, ooh, Vipers up in the air. 13 Overlords? Are you insane, Dark? Okay, that's a misplay for sure. Dark is supposed to have a bank here. Oh, he does not cancel them. Dark is supposed to have a bank here. He's now going to sit at 27 Overlords here. 27 plus a couple of Overseers. That is not what you want to have here. That actually is making this a whole lot more difficult than it is supposed to be, I believe, for Dark. He's supposed to be able to throw this army away and then remax pretty much right away. Remax. I've been playing a British game, okay, lately. That's I guess what happens when the characters speak British. The words become remax. Anyhow, okay, Hellions over here got shut down. I saw him do this recently as well against Oliveira, where he made additional Overlords just for the Overlord drops, which is really cool. But I don't think he would make more than a dozen Overlords for that, okay? That seems a little bit excessive. Okay, so Brute Lord transition here, while simultaneously going for a Zergling drop. Just like Oliveira at the time. I casted that game a couple of days ago. I'll post a link to it down below in the description of this video if I don't forget, because that was an absolute banger. Just like Oliveira, Clem's sensor tower is out of range. So he does not actually see this Overlord drop coming in on the radar. There is one of those missile turrets over here, so that may be a little bit annoying, but I think he's going to be okay. He's going to lose one of those. Nothing all too crazy. In the meantime, we have a dance going back and forth. Looks like a couple of snipes have already gone down right here on the Brute Lords. Okay, Brute Lords don't really care that much, though. Siege tanks here are going down, and Zerglings, in the meantime, are dealing a tremendous amount of damage. Adrenal Glands is only going to finish up... Well, actually, I say tremendous amount of damage. Without Adrenal, actually, those links don't really seem to deal nearly as much damage. Nicely done right now, or nicely done so far here, though, by Dark, pushing this forward, trying to push this Terran away from that position. Clem backing up towards the safety of the planetary fortress. Okay. A lot of SCVs end up going down over here. So you're gonna kill the CC itself as well. Look at that fungal growth, blinding cloud combo, though. Completely disabling that entire Terran army there for a good couple seconds. And that was enough to now blow up the command center itself. Nice control as well coming out of Clem, trying to make the best of this bad situation. Leading the charge right there with that one Hellion to try and get as much vision as possible on those ghosts. To potentially now snipe a couple of those Brute Lords on the retreat. Queen's coming forward to try and transfuse this, but it's not soon enough. Zerglings, though, burrowed inside of the main base. They once again unburrow here. But Big Daddy Thor is available, and it's going to be enough to get rid of all of this for now. Income-wise, it's been a bit of a roller coaster, but Zerg has been leading the majority of the time. If you look at the resources lost, however, yeah. That's the main downside of that Battle Mech army. It's not nearly as cheap as those Marines and those Marauders. So Terran needs to be very cost-efficient with their trades, but it's much more difficult to pull off. Okay, Banelings rolling into Thors, though. That's one way to pull that off, because that is not a very good trade for the Zerg player at all. A couple SCVs end up going down, because there's a handful of Zerglings going to town in a mineral line. Okay. I thought Dark was going to back off a little bit sooner, but I guess in his mind he's like, you know what? I think I'll be okay. These Hydras could have done a ton of damage, but they didn't realize it, and they probably assumed there was a planetary fortress rebuilt at that position here instead. Okay. Clem has done a phenomenal job, though, taking his side of the map. Even though he was supposed to be the guy who was pressuring the opponent the entire time, he's been up with his back against the wall for quite a while now. And yet, he's taken the entire left side of the map. His economy is still looking stellar. Command center over here is going to sadly end up going down, so that is a little bit annoying. There's, once again, an infestor on the ground. This is so difficult for Clem to engage into, though. Like, every single time he kills any of those infestors, it seems like 4 of them, once again, pop up. And when you're playing the game as if there's an infestor around every corner, it's really hard to maneuver your army around. The creep spread is giving Dark an insane amount of vision, whereas this is what Clem sees right now. He's got one sensor tower over here, but he really does need a little bit more. Obviously, that's why we've got so many orbital commands, so we can scan continuously, and that's also why Clem is adding on even more command centers, but he needs to be careful. He's catching up, however, when it comes to the upgrades. 3-3 here, about halfway done. This wasn't the game that Clem originally intended on playing, but he's okay. Ooh, nicely done. That's that nerf right there coming into effect, right? Clem definitely would have lost a Thor there in the previous patch. Not this time around. Dark moving forward once again, trying to get the Banelings there at the bottom of the map. Don't know if there's enough, though. Is that enough to kill the CC? Oh, just barely. Alright. That orbital commandeer, he does not have a lot of time right there to mourn the loss of his planetary fortress friend. Immediately replaces the lost command center. Oh, fungal growths. Good control right there by Clem. Backing off just barely in time. I think one of the reasons, though, why Clem is... yeah, he did not manage to play the early game that he intended on is because of that fungal growth transition so quickly. Like, those infestors came out early. Hey, look. Nidus network coming up. So after Overlord drops, we're still going to go into a Nidus network, which I kind of like. I'm assuming most of those Dropper Lords have gone down. Yeah, there's still one over here, but 4 of them on the on the production tab, on the units lost tab. The Rest in Pieces tab. The In Memoriam tab. Anyways, we also have a transition right now towards Seismic Spines. There are, however, already a lot of ghosts available. Now, once again, he's coming in from the side, blinding clouds together with fungal growths. Those Banelings rolling through everything, but despite the slowdown, Clem has still done a good job right there splitting up his units. The problem is, does he have enough? I don't think he does quite have enough. Although, these trades... again, they look amazing for the Zerg, but they're actually not that cost efficient at all. The fact that he gets a command center every time he attacks is gonna make this a whole lot better for him. If it wasn't for all of those CCs going down, though, I'm not 100% convinced. Yeah, in the last couple of fights, I think we've seen a command center every time, which kind of justifies the attack somewhat, especially since Dark still is getting a lot of income as well. But the income advantage, you gotta take it with a grain of salt. Dark, though, forced his hand right there, or, well, Clem, I guess, forced Dark's hand, because he decided to take this expansion down south. Nidus network right now going up in the main base. This is super annoying because, well, if you look right here at the minimap, right, where the army movement of Terran is actually located, Terran is all the way down south. These drops and these Niduses in the main base, they're as far away from the front as possible, and that's exactly why Dark is executing it. And now suddenly, Dark is showing up with a massive army of lurkers. 18 lurkers suddenly appear. This is the first time he sees them. Normally, if you're making lurkers into ghosts, Terrans don't really mind it, but that is a lot of lurkers. Very expensive group of units right here for Dark to produce. He also spent the majority of his piggy bank on it. In the meantime, he's pushing up north as well, trying to flood the natural right here with Zerglings. Banglings are rolling wherever they can. Okay, the Ghost Army here cut off from the main supply line, but... okay, yeah. They're not really getting the greatest of transitions here, the greatest of traits. Clem managed to finish the Planetary Fortress, but I'm not entirely sure how long that one is going to stay alive. Siege Tank there at like 1 HP. Command Center here goes down. Can't really fault Clem right there for losing the CC, because there's so many things going on at the same time, but that is, of course, pretty rough. Now suddenly, Zerg reinforcements are showing up. Keep in mind, though, this is Dark, who's essentially broke. He doesn't have a whole lot of money anymore. He's done a good amount of damage, but this may actually really hurt the Terran player. GG is cold as Clem is losing his economy, and Dark wins game number 1. Next up, Neo-Humanity. You know what? The more I think about that Infestor response, the more I actually like it. So imagine you're the Zerg player in that previous game, right? You've got Roaches and Ravagers, you've got like 6, 7, maybe 8 Queens or so, and suddenly your opponent shows up with 4 or 5 Banshees. What do? What's your response? I would imagine that 99% of players out there, myself included, we would go for either a Hydra Den or maybe a Spire or something along those lines. But Dark looked at that, he's like, you know what I need? Infestation Pit, baby. And even though the trait was pretty decent, because Clem's crisis management was really good, he ended up sniping like 4, maybe 5 Infestors or so when he lost all of those Banshees. That engagement really took the wind out of his sails, right? That tempo advantage suddenly flipped. And yeah, it was Dark who got to, well, decide the pacing of that match. And I think that's really where Clem decided he needed to slow the game down quite a lot. And then his upgrades were already late, so yeah, he had to try and claw his way back into it. He almost managed. But in the end, Dark was just a little bit too good. Such a classic Dark thing to do. Another classic Dark thing to do. Metabolic Boost. Pulls 3 drones out of gas. 8 gas right there in the bank. I love that because I've done a lot of StarCraft 2 coaching over the years, okay? And I know a lot of you, say for example, you're in Diamond League. I know you get really upset at yourself when you go for the drone pool out of gas and you find yourself at 108 before you start up Metabolic Boost, okay? That takes a toll on your mental health. I know that very well. Dark is one of those guys. I'm at the risk of fanboying a little too much here, but this guy, man, he's not very good at coloring between the lines, okay? That's not Dark's strong suit. This man, he's an abstract painter, okay? He's just, yeah, throwing some stuff on the canvas and somehow it works. The fact that he went up to, I don't know, I find that kind of ironic. The fact that he started up Metabolic Boost when really nothing was going on and 108 gas and then pulled the drones out, I find that kind of ironic because that's one of those moves that, technically speaking, shouldn't, like, that's one of those quote-unquote mistakes that technically shouldn't happen at this level of play because there's really not that much going on yet in the early game. Dark, though, doesn't really care. He just keeps going. All right. So this time around, we have a different approach here from Clem. So once more, it's a quick 3cc opener. But now we're transitioning towards the good old Bio Army. And I kind of like this right here from Dark. Well, actually, I like this right here from Clem a little bit more. Dark probably doesn't mind. But most Zerg players, they prefer playing Roach Ravager against mech. Maybe against Battlecruiser openers. But they really like playing that Bio Army. Like that, well, I guess every single Zerg unit is a biological unit. But they like playing against that Bio Army, that infantry-based army with Link Bane instead. So, Roach Ravager is a little bit of a funky unit comp, especially against Bio. And look at the speed of those upgrades right here for Clem. So, Clem already started up 1-1. Right around the same time, I guess, as the lair began here for Dark. So, these upgrades are incredibly quick. There is... Hold up right now. Where did that Zergling come from? That makes no sense. How did that Zergling just get in? This bad boy right over here. Did Dark literally just send one Zergling and right-clicked it towards the opponent's side of the map and somehow it managed to run through? Ah, sure. That is so funny. Well, now he knows everything. Now he knows everything. Okay, so... are we gonna transition away from that Roach Warren, or are we still gonna double down and go for the missile upgrade? Most Zerg players here would go melee and armor. Dark, again, seems to be the only guy who likes to go for missile and carapace anyways. Even though he now knows 100% that it's a bio army. Yeah, so he still goes missile and carapace here. So that is an indication that he wants to stick around on Roach Ravager for the foreseeable future, which is a unit comp most people, they like playing, but not so much against bio Terrans. That said, though, this does open up the front door right here for a massive timing attack. As Dark just started up the 1-1 upgrades, he just finished up the lair, so now he can go for the Roach speed upgrade as well. And if he goes for the Roach speed upgrade within, well, the next 10 seconds... come on. There you go. These upgrades, they will finish right around the same time. So this upgrade is a little bit quicker than these two. If he makes non-stop army here until these upgrades are done, you have a killer timing attack that Terran players usually crumble under, but, I mean, Clem obviously one of the very best in the world, so I highly doubt it's going to be winning the game right away, but it certainly is one of those timing attacks that can deal a ton of damage. That said, Dark just lost around the drones. He's also hitting a small little supply block here. Again, uncharacteristic mistake. Those mistakes really shouldn't be made. Assuming he wants to double down on unit production, I guess it's fine. But it does show that Dark is feeling maybe just ever so slightly shaky. Yeah, no, he decides to go back into droning, so I don't think he actually wants to go for a big push here at all. Giving his opponent the benefit of the doubt here. Clem, okay. Interesting position here. He starts up the Great Wall here. Do you just finish it up here as well? I mean, I would, but not even entirely sure if that's necessary. The next command center coming up. You can either take it over here, or you can go for the one over here in the center. There's a high-yield Vespian Geyser over here, a rich Vespian Geyser, so that is quite nice. Planetary Fortress here in the center of the map is excellent. Dark going for a macro hatch. Going for another expansion. He has not opted to go for his high-yield gas just yet, but he'll probably be taking that one momentarily here as well. So 1-1 is done right now for the Zerg. He did not test the waters. I wouldn't have minded seeing an attack, but I guess the amount of siege tanks available, yeah, it makes it quite difficult to go for a push. I think that Dark was sort of sitting here hoping that his opponent was going to be attacking into him instead. But Clem must have realized exactly what kind of unit composition his opponent was going for, and he must have realized, wait, there's a chance that 1-1 Roach speed attack is coming up. So instead I need to be very careful and... well, I'm gonna not attack into that at all. So now we have that weird passivity where both players have been preparing themselves for an attack for a while. Yeah, look at Clem here. Even going triple bunker now. So he's really concerned about that all-out push. I don't think it's gonna happen. Not yet. No. I think this is Clem waiting, sitting back, and assuming that his opponent is likely gonna go for an all-out, maxed-out push here, but... that would have already hit about a minute ago. Okay, it's instead gonna be a transition right now towards the roly-poly upgrade. Slow zone, by the way, here in the middle. There's these cooling towers. The cooling towers all share HP, so all 4 of them. They have only 500 health, and then they basically collapse over here in the middle. Meaning that this entire attack path over here is gonna be disabled, and honestly, I think you need to knock it down right now. For Terrans here, the splash damage out of these siege tanks is amazing. Forcing all of the Zerg units through a choke point seems preferable, but anyways. Planetary Fortress right now, coming up in the center. I love that. That is such a nice, yeah, such a nice angle to fall back to. Ultralisk Cavern, by the way, after Roach Ravager. Notice how smoothly Dark is transitioning right now in between all of this, right? Really cool. A lot of Zergs tend to get caught up in that Roach Ravager army, especially when you dedicate yourself to +2, but he's now got Adrenal Glands finishing up right around the same time as +1 melee, which... I know a lot of this, like, looks easy, but it really isn't. It's very easy to get caught up and, you know, play an inferior unit comp instead. Okay, a couple of Vipers here coming in from the side. Blinding Clouds disabling those forward siege tanks. Oh my god, a lot of the Bio army here very far back as well. That Liberator up in the air. It's probably going to get biled down right away. Yeah, that one only just popped out of the starport. Dark wants to break through this position right now. Planetary Fortress, though, is so nice. Okay, very good biling, man. Those biles were pretty much flawless. We go into Ultras already, but before Chitinous Plating. Chitinous Plating is what makes those Ultralisks good. Without the additional armor, they get sniped very easily, and, well, for the first minute or so of their life, these units can pop very easily, very quickly. So let's see exactly... Oh my god, can someone please finish off the cooling towers? 42 HP remaining. Anyways, for now at least, Clem should be okay. Once again, excellent job macroing on the back of this. Same can be said for Dark, though, is just, well, taking the entire map. I don't think Clem realizes what the late game transition right here for Dark is going to be. He doesn't realize that it's going to be Ultralisks. I think if he knew, if he would have scanned the main base here, he probably would push a little bit more. 11-minute Ultras after opening Roach Ravager is really quick. Keep in mind that with the new multiplayer balance patch, those Ultras are a little bit smaller as well. But you know what? Clem doesn't really need to know what his opponent is playing either. He's gonna find out right now. There you go. Now he sees the little baby Ultralisk. Chitinous Plating finishing up in 2 seconds, right before the first Ultra really starts taking damage. Really good timing right there from Dark. Then again, though, the Terran army here is looking menacing. Okay, Ultra's going very deep, but I don't think that's going to be quite enough. Okay, Banelings there do help out as well. Now, suddenly, man, the Zerg army is on the move. Very crisp timing right here from Dark. Very unorthodox timing as well, but now the Terran reinforcements have shown up out of the main base. Blinding Clouds do connect. Or, sorry, not Blinding Clouds. Corrosive Biles do connect. We're going to need to see a repair right there on that command center, but I think... Oh, man. Ugh. I'm honestly a little surprised with the way that... Clem has been taking some of those battles, walking into the biles a little too aggressively. I know it's incredibly difficult, but historically speaking, that's where Clem is usually at his strongest, right? When he's microing that bio army. Okay, so what I was going to bring up, right? It seems that Clem doesn't really care anyways about what late game unit his opponent is going for. Be it Brute Lords, be it Lurkers, be it Ultralisks. Because he's already producing both Ghost as well as Liberators. Liberators 25 gas cheaper with the new multiplayer balance patch. It makes them quite a bit easier to produce. Oh, well, you do need a little bit of army right here, though, to actually sustain yourself. A lot of supply count right now for the Terran player, caught up in a bunch of those medevacs as well. Well, a lot of those just ended up popping because of that parasitic bomb. One Liberator here having a grand old time, but that's not the Ultralisks. Killing the Planetary Fortress. And Dark has got a lot of money in the bank to once again rinse and repeat. Yeah, I say that. It's an absolute roller coaster here. Whenever those mules are available, life's pretty nice. Now the middle base is acquired here as well by the Zerg. It's only a small path right here. Can we please knock down the cooling tower? No? Okay. This Liberator, a little too far forward. Wanted to take after his brother over here, who was sieged up a little bit more conservatively. There you go. There you go. Shoot him. Don't you dare. Don't even think about it. Thought for a second it was going to be a parasitic bomb. Anyways, Zerglings right now running on over together with a couple of Banelings towards the mineral line. Dark sacrificing part of his army just to kill more and more of those SCVs. And honestly, oh god. 15 kills now. Don't die now! Oh, he's dead. Okay, anyways, 22 SCVs have gone down. 27 in total. And Dark is looking to rinse and repeat. When it comes to the units lost, though, this is a little bit more cost efficient from Terran than what we saw in the previous game. Not as cost efficient as it could have been, I don't think. We've had that standoff here in the middle of the map for quite a while, and I think the sudden tech transitions here from Dark have been quite difficult to deal with. We go from Roach Ravager into Ling Bane Ravager into Ultra Ling Bane Ravager with Vipers for support. I mean, you really have to be on your toes the entire time. Okay. Yeah, Clem not moving around as confidently as he normally does. I would like to maybe see some medevac play, some medevac drops in the opponent's main base or something along those lines. Because right now it seems that Clem is sitting here up with his back against the wall, waiting for his opponent's next punch. And that is barely ever a good position to be in as a StarCraft 2 player, especially when you don't have that planetary to fall back to again. Dark rolling forward, playing a very different style than he did in the previous game, but just as capable of executing this as well. Snipe coming down, killing all of the Ultras, but a lot of SCVs. Well, actually, I say that. 4 SCVs have gone down. Command Center still lives. Ah, you know what? This is actually a lot more playable right now. Yeah, that fight was not nearly as good for Dark as I thought it was. Do I have the battle report? Let me see. Oh, I do. Sometimes I accidentally back off in the replay whenever I do this. But yeah, look at the resources destroyed right here compared to what the Terran player lost in that previous fight. You love to see it. That's very good. That's going to give Clem a little bit of wiggle room. Medevac drop here on the left side of the map. It's going to be pushed back, but it's the first time we've seen Clem on his opponent's side of the map in quite a while. Other than maybe the middle. Okay, so, once more. Infestors and Vipers. Even though they're supportive spellcasters, they really are the backbone right here of the Zerg army. Fungal Growth, Parasitic Bomb, Blinding Cloud, Abduction. All of it is just a little bit too good. Did I just lose, or did I just miss 20 SCVs going down? Where did that happen? What? What just happened? Oh no, did he? Oh, no way. Oh my, what? Clem just target fired on his clumped up SCVs here. I am not even entirely sure what he was trying to do. So yeah, he's attack moving on this one SCV right here with all of the units that are close by. Then this siege tank is ready to roll out, and he just fires. Yikes. Well then. Clem makes a huge mistake, killing accidentally 20 of his own SCVs. Dark doesn't know this, of course. So he's not going to be able to react, but if he knew, I think he would feel pretty dang good about himself. Oh, look at that early activated stim as well. Okay, yeah, Clem is starting to fall apart here. That is not the sign of someone who's feeling all too good about himself. Okay, the Zerg army is moving forward. No Ultralisks this time around with this army. There are, however, a whole lot of Infestors available. Good EMPs here, though, by the Terran player, really preventing the majority of that army from getting fungled. Siege Tech here on the right side having a grand old time. And honestly, he's doing such a good job. Now, there are a couple of Ultra here on the left, or, sorry, the right. Sorry, I always get left and right confused. Okay, left is where my thumb is on the right is where my thumb is on the left. That's usually how I remember. Okay, now. Honestly, that fight was excellent for Clem if it wasn't for the fact that he just killed 20 of his own SCVs. Yeah, the bank is just depleting. Dark's probably looking at these battles and he's like, oh god, this is not what I was hoping for at all. Okay, good EMP once again. Look at that. All of these Infestors out of energy. Viper gets sniped out of the sky. Okay. Clem suddenly going Super Saiyan here. He's everyone's favorite anime protagonist. When he's down and out and he accidentally hurt himself, that's when he really starts powering up. Okay, Nidus Worm in the main base though. It's gonna be annoying. Second Nidus Worm on the back of it too, so really forcing a reaction out of the Terran player right now. He's pushing through the center of the map. Hatchery goes down, but there's a Zerg infestation in the main base. Now this Liberator is having a grand old time. Pew! 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 That's what the pilot of the Liberator's saying, okay? She's having a grand old time. Zerglings are everywhere. Pew! Pew! The main fight, though, that I think we have to look at is this one right over here. As Clem is breaking through, he just killed the opponent's third base. He's going for the fight over here on the left. There's a couple of drones trying to, burrow right on top of each other. Ultralisk pops out. We do have that infestation, or sorry, that Baneling nest incredibly low as well. But there's now Zerglings everywhere. Ultralisks have shown up. There's a command center going down over here. Liberator in the main base. 32, 33. Man, having a grand old time. This now suddenly is turning into a bit of a base race, though. My god, imagine if Clem didn't kill 20-something of his own workers. His income would have been so much better here over the last couple minutes. And honestly, his army would be significantly stronger. Clem decides to hit the GG on the keyboard, as it's Dark who obtains the victory 2-0 after playing some phenomenal games of StarCraft 2.